welcome back to 237, back with another review. And for this video, we are going to Indonesia for a psychological horror film from 2009. This is one I've actually never heard of. I'm not even sure what made me pick it up. I saw that there was a Blu-ray by Severin. The story kind of sounded interesting. The premise I got and what it ended up being were two totally different things. But this is very much, most likely, probably, of all Asian films, like films from all of Asia, this has to be my second favorite Asian horror film, behind Audition. It reminds me a lot of Audition. Something told me this was going to be one of the more extreme films, which I do have a few more extreme horror films coming, and I will be picking up some more shortly. But I've kind of seen this being listed as extreme, but it reminds me of Audition, where it does have some heavier content. It's done in a more subdued, but yet a more effective way, like Audition. And it is more about story and characters. It's very well shot, very well made, up until this, all culminating into this very bloody climax. And it is from writer-director Yoko Anwar, and again, 2009, The Forbidden Door. Which, of course, this was not the sleeve it came with, but this is the one that I put on there. I mean, take a look at that cover and tell me this might not be that extreme. But yeah, visually, it's not. It's not a gore fest. It doesn't have a whole lot of really extreme imagery, but it does deal with themes of abortion and severe child abuse. And those are recurring elements throughout the film. But the story is great. And because of this, I do want to check out Anwar's other films, Impedagore and Satan's Slave. I'm not familiar with the cast. Fakhri Albar was in VHS 2. Marcia Timothy was in The Raid 2. And Ario Bayu was in Impedagore. And this received a lot of praise, both in its native of Indonesia and internationally. And I can see why. As far as Asian movies go, this does remind me of Audition. And it has been widely compared to a Hitchcockian thriller, or something Hitchcock probably would have done. It is based on a novel of the same name by Sekar A.U. Asmara, if I pronounce that correctly. David Lynch said that this was the sickest and kinkiest film he had ever seen at this point. And I really got sucked into the story, very much so. And I loved the build-up. I loved the sense of dread that it was building. The cinematography and the use of its score was very effective. The cinematography was done by Ipong Rahmat Saiful. I know I butchered that name. And the music had a bunch of different people. Augie Narotama, Bembi Gusti, Gascoro Ramondo, and Zeke Caselli, which that name does sound familiar. Can't even click on other stuff he's done. Associated acts, because I think he's been in other bands. Anyway, but it also has a good soundtrack with older Beatles-esque type music, like more oldies. That's very effective. And the first twist I could definitely see coming. I would be surprised if a lot of people got it. But the big twist at the very end I did not see coming. And it's not the most original thing. It's stuff we've seen since and prior. But the way they pull it off and the way they tell it is very well done. And this is a to me this is a must see for Asian horror fans. Uh, because it is very much rooted in real life horror. It's not The Grudge, it's not The Ring. It's, it's not a schoolgirl ghost or anything like that. And while it might not be as intense or graphic as Audition, the way it handles its more shocking aspects, which is not for pure shock value, it's shown to be effective, uh, really works. So it's about this sculptor named oh uh, Gambier, I believe that was his name, Gambier, played by Fakri Albar. He he has a niche for sculpting pregnant women, and he's completely dominated throughout his life. His wife kind of runs his career. He has a very doting mother. His manager's like a father figure, always telling him what to sculpt and telling him when to have galleries. And he's got two childhood friends, one of which is kind of like his brother, and another one is very, very competitive in sports and stuff. But uh, him and his wife are expecting a child. She doesn't want it. They get it aborted. Sometime later, he suffers erectile dysfunction over the grief and just the discomfort of having to do that because it was essentially her call. Although his mother keeps nagging for grandchildren and having kids and trying to get him fixed, not fix what we would say, but you know, literally fix, like trying to make him work. And there is something he does with a pregnant uh, sculpture that I guess to get you hooked, she saved her fetus and she wants him to break it open, put it inside, seal it, which he does. And I was kind of lost. I don't know if he keeps going back to the clinic to get more to put in his other sculptures, but I know he does it at least with hers. All the while, he is seeing the phrase "help me" written in various places on his doorstep, on a public wall for flyers. He keeps seeing it. Uh, Also with the word Hirases, I think is how it's pronounced. And finds out it's a club where people go. They go into a room. They flip through the channels where cameras have been placed in random homes and places around the city. And they see horrible stuff. They see rape. They see people getting beat up. And this one specific case of child abuse. And he becomes obsessed with trying to find where this boy lives so he can save him. All the while figuring out, he slowly starts to figure out that his family is not exactly who they are to him. That they don't necessarily have his best interests or well-being at heart. And the forbidden door, there is a red door down in his art studio that he never noticed before. It was behind a cabinet. And his wife tells him, don't ever open the door. It has stuff from my past I would like to forget. If you open it, I will be so upset that it will jeopardize the marriage. So he decides to leave it. All these factors are just lead to this hell of a climax that just culminates the entire film. And the climax is very well worth it, very satisfying. But some other aspects, I mean, that looks like comic book font. For a while, I thought it was a graphic novel that this was based off of. Even the opening closing credits have this comic book font. It does have this sort of Sin City artwork in color, but kind of opening credit sequence that's very cool. The music, when it's like an oldie song, it'll be put to something like this cool upward angle of like a rose bush with the white fence and the blue sky above it, which is very well shot. Or if it's something more emotional and or uh, uh, dark, it'll be this very uh, either ambient music or like this kind of tribal drum beat or this kind of strange drum beat. It would just keep building up. The score is very well utilized. And there is, so just the guilt from the abortion, figuring out everyone in his family has some ulterior motive, and this obsession with trying to find this abused boy. Also, with what is this secret that my wife has behind this red door, all leads up to a great climax. I thought this movie was awesome. And one of the overall themes, especially when it comes to child abuse, is the whole see something, say something, but how we as a society tend to look the other way. Like here's a club where people actually want to go and see stuff like that, yet they decide to look the other way. And there's only one person willing to do something, but the number one rule of the club is don't ask questions and don't talk about it. So I thought that was a very interesting and effective way to tackle that theme. And yes, the scenes of child abuse are all shown to us through a television as he watches it. It is very old and staticky. I love the look of the room that he goes in. It's this very uh, a 70s decor, this old, like, rounded square TV with a tiny screen, antenna, knobs, almost black and white, but it's very fuzzy and gritty. All the child abuse scenes we see through that, almost making it so it's like we're a club member watching it. We don't ever see it like it's actually in front of us. There are small hints throughout the film as to what's going on twist wise. I'll save that for spoilers. So that when you think back to it, it's like, oh, that's what that meant. Because there's very little moments that when you see it, you're like, what is that all about? And then at the end, it all makes sense. The cinematography is very Kubrick-esque. I mean, it's like going down a corridor. It's got this very symmetrical look to it, with where the set design and wallpaper is very eye-catchingly symmetrical. When he first goes to the club, there's this upward shot of the staircase and also a downward shot of the staircase, except it's an oval instead of like a perfect circle, so it's very surreal kind of looking. And it does get upsetting. I mean, as the film goes on, there's more about the boy that he's obsessing about, and also stuff going on with his family, that it does get upsetting. You do feel for this guy Gambier, and the actor Fakhri Albar does a great job at just emoting this guy that is going through all this shit. So I'm gonna get into spoilers, but this is definitely throughout all of Asia, and I don't think I've seen too many Indonesian films. I'd have to go back to my foreign horror playlist, but this might actually be the only film from Indonesia I've seen or at least reviewed. But in all of Asia, this is my second favorite behind Audition. It has that fairly meticulous but a methodical story and pacing, more about characters and what is leading to, with a violent and graphic in its own way climax and slash twist. Which, yeah, the first twist pretty obvious, at least it was to me, but the second twist I didn't see coming. And yeah, awesome movie. It is a slow burn. Don't go into it thinking you're gonna get like, you know, Ichi the Killer, or you know, a Guinea Pig, or Grotesque, or any other like Japanese film like that. No jump scares. You know, a lot of people might call this a drama, but you can have a horror movie where the horror is very real life stuff and have it be slow paced, more of a drama, but have it done in a way that still makes it an effective horror film. And I don't know how, but overseas they all more often than not get to pull it off. So The Forbidden Door, I was very impressed with. Second favorite Asian horror film behind Audition. I highly recommend it. So, now that we're in spoilers, the very opening shot of the film is a shot of the kitchen where the boy is abused. There's another shot where we see a woman that kind of looks like his wife, drawing, sketching a picture of a young boy. She has a picture next to her. Look, she's drawing. I think we see an ID card that says a Hirasace. But those are some of the small clues that tell us the twist. Now, he's at an art gallery that, of course, was put on by everyone in his family. He has to keep sculpting pregnant women because his manager says, I know what you put in that first sculpture because I bought it. So a random fan didn't buy it. I did. And I will tell someone if you don't keep doing what I tell you to do. He's more business than, an actual caring person. But he leaves his gallery to go back to the club because he was told that the boy was killed. One of his childhood friends is the one that brings him to the club. But that he was killed by accident. He doesn't believe him. He goes and he sees the boy on the TV, and he witnesses the boy killing his parents. He slits his parents' throats in their sleep, then he slits his own throat. And I mean, the child abuse, actually, in the way the child abuse is done, seeing very little, I mean, he gets the shit kicked out of him by the dad, always slapped and beat by the mother. But it's always off screen. Like, you can see the dad's legs, you can see him, kicking, but you don't actually see the impact. So it's off screen, but knowing it's there and the sound effects and everything, it makes it very effective. Up until the Christmas dinner climax, most of the violence and everything is off screen and implied, yet still very effective. So he sees the boy die in front of him on screen. But then he sees that his house is one that has cameras, and that it was on the menu on the TV. So he clicks on it, and he sees all these conversations. Conversations with his mother and his wife. His mother saying, hey, you should hook up with that one friend of his, Rio, at this one hotel. Then it cuts to them in the hotel together. Then the mother's saying, oh, well, you should hook up with his other lifelong friend. He was a former athlete. You should be able to get pregnant by him. So it shows them in the hotel room having sex. And he keeps cutting back to his reaction, which of its kind, it kind of reminded me of Chris from Get Out, just watching, shocked with just like a single tear. Very well done, well acted. And we basically learn that she didn't abort their child because she didn't want kids. She aborted it because she didn't want his kid. I'm guessing she was only with him because he's an artist, but she's more attracted to other people and would rather raise someone else's kid. Which is kind of goes with this conversation in the beginning of the film at the clinic, which is wonderfully shot. Camera just eye level with Gambier and eye level with the guy in the waiting room across from him, who's had a shit ton of abortions because they don't want kids. He subscribes to the philosophy of kids don't ask to be born, so it's not fair to let them be born. And then, he tells him, like, whose idea was it to come here? It's not because she doesn't want to have kids. She doesn't want to have your kid. Well, now through this revelation of him watching his life being recorded, or people in his life being recorded, he knows that's true. Also, a bit where his wife is talking with his manager, who he believes is like a father figure, about how the manager just fakes all the praise that he gets to just keep making him do stuff so they can make money off of it. And that's when he gets the idea that he's going to invite everyone over for Christmas, which he does. So his mother, his manager, wife, 2 childhood friends. Gives them all wine, spiked with something called the Devil's Pit, or a Devilish Pit, which renders them paralyzed but lucid for 10 minutes. And he just goes around the table mocking them for the evil that they do, and kills them, which is this scene. Probably the most famous scene of the film. Let's see if there was another scene on this cover, but no. And, plays Russian roulette with his wife. And I love the look of the blood. It's like that light red, almost like Italian or Dawn of the Dead blood. Very bright red. And, I mean, it is close up of everyone. He just slits all their throats, and we see the blood fly everywhere. Again, the whole movie's been leading to it, and it's very satisfying. It seems like he's cracked a little bit because he's kind of laughing and really getting into it. How he's finally taking control for his life. Does kill his wife. He says, play Russian roulette. If this clicks 3 times, I'll let you live. But the third one, she dies. So he goes to open up the red door, which she put a giant canvas painting of an eyeball on it. I guess to hint as either I'm always watching to show that you don't open it, or whatever's on the other side is always being watched. And this is the twist that I kind of thought was obvious. It was pretty much suspecting throughout the film, which is he gets through the door and it's the house from the TV. It's where the boy lived. So the whole time, he would have been able to save the boy, but he listened to his lying, deceitful wife, controlling wife. But not only that, he goes to look at the bodies of the parents and sees that the mother looks just like his mother, which startles him. And then the boy walks up to him saying, Gambier, you failed to save us again. So footsteps, Gambier goes to hide under the bed, and we see young boy Gambier, mother coming in, looking under the bed, talking like, oh, you spoiled brat, I've been calling you. And it's Gambier's mother. So when he screams, we then zoom out from his face to reveal he's in a padded room with all these books around him. Thus, so, and I know some people have a hard time with twists like this. I don't mind them as long as they're done well, which I think this one was. And, it shows some of his books and magazines about sculptures and art and, stuff about psychology and the brain. And that's what it was kind of a Wizard of Oz type thing. The whole movie was in his imagination. He fancied himself as an artist. He got the art idea from his magazines. This woman who I think she's not a doctor that works there. I don't believe she a journalist. She's standing at his cell, is just like, that poor man. And we see her ID tag. It was the woman from earlier drawing the picture of the boy, his wife, but not his wife. It's a woman a journalist that he's seen, is attracted to, has a thing for. So in his imagination, she's his wife. Then we see his two childhood friends are janitors and staff. So he's pretty much just taken this amalgamation of people he's seen and stuff he's looked at in his magazines and created this imaginary world. Which could also mean opening the door wouldn't be for your wife's sake, but it wouldn't devastate the marriage. It would devastate the world you've created in your own mind. And we find out he did kill his parents. He was abused that way. But the cops showed up before he could kill himself. And he's been there since he was 8 years old. And then it ends with this epilogue of this overhead shot of a confessional booth where a guy confesses that he killed his wife. But there's this door that she maybe promised never to go in. And the priest says, if someone made you promise not to open the door, don't open it. And he says, well, how do I know if I'm not supposed to open it? He says, you won't know until you open it. And then we see that he is the priest. So it's another imaginary thing he's created, I guess, to live with the regret of doing that. I might be off on that epilogue part, but so yeah, I didn't mind the twist that the whole movie was in his head. I know a lot of people think twists like that dilute the film. I thought it was well done. I didn't see that coming. The door leading to the boy's house, that I saw, but not the... and the hospital he's at is called a Hirasace. It reminded me of a fan theory of Batman, where what if Bruce Wayne was in Arkham and Batman was his alter ego and all his rogues were actually doctors, like trying to help him. Like, what if Joker was his primary and Harley was his nurse, but then Penguin was another doctor, Riddler was his psychiatrist. It kind of reminded me of that, so I like that idea. And again, other than its bloody, almost Tarantino level bloody climax, all of the more graphic or harder to handle stuff like the child abuse is mostly done off screen, but is done in such an effective, powerful way. Very well acted, beautifully shot and made. The cinematography is very well done. The music fits perfectly, whether it be a song or part of the score. The very subtle hints that there's something else going on, like the woman drawing the boy. The sort of allegory or the metaphor for see something, say something, but no one does, and here you're not allowed to. I liked how it handled that. And yeah, just a very, very solid, very well made horror film. Uh, Not just Indonesian or Asian, but just all around well made, psychological, more so realistic, kind of taking tropes of horror like paranormal, killer, uh, you know, whatever, and just telling this sort of real life story. You know, dealing with abortion, child abuse, just shitty family. Very well done. uh, there was something else I wanted to say. But yeah, second favorite Asian film behind Audition. So, it, take Audition, you take this, you can kind of tell what my taste is for Asian horror. Also, I see where the Hitchcock nods from people that like this film are coming from. It looks and feels like a modern, more graphic Hitchcock tale. Kind of Hitchcockian characters and very satisfying climax. I really enjoyed this film. Very solid. I'm glad I picked it up. The This is one of the beauties of blind buys. Sometimes not always this good, but so that is The Forbidden Door. I do have some extreme horror films coming in. I'm not going to say what they are just yet, but sorry this one was as long as it was. I'm trying to make them shorter, but there's a lot I liked about this movie. So, yeah, great Indonesian film. I loved it. I thank you for watching.